Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review for you. Going to talk about the 2006 film, The Last Winter, in its new 4K edition. Gotta be honest, I didn't know much about Larry Fessenden. He is an actor and director. I've actually seen him in a lot of things, but he directed some movies and has his own company, Glass Eye Pix. I totally missed these movies, and they've been released on Blu-ray and now 4K multiple times over the last decade or so. This was filmed released back in 2006, but they were scouting locations as early as 2003. If you don't know anything about The Last Winter, it's a thriller that stars Ron Perlman, James LaGrosse, and Connie Britton, among other people, some other actors you've seen. And it's about a group of scientists and such from an American oil company that has a chance to perhaps drill someplace that we haven't been able to drill before. We did one test drilling there, and now they have the ability to go back, and if things work out right, they can totally start building oil wells and stuff in this area. And that's what really the movie is about, and they get into some stuff. Now, the main reason I wanted to see this is because the movie was actually filmed in Alaska at Prudhoe Bay, up there at Dead Horse and parts. For people, when we talk about, I live in the state of Alaska, so this has got to be close. The area I'm talking about is over 12 hours north of me. That's how big Alaska is. So way up there towards the Arctic Circle, which we don't have that kind of weather. Anyway, long story short, they filmed most of the movie there. They also filmed part of it in Iceland. And I love that there's a documentary on there where they spend a lot of time showing you what Alaska looked like in 2003. So during the course of the movie, we're established the area. There's lots of aerial shots. It's actually quite well-filmed movie for most of it. Every once in a while, there was like one scene that would be like ultra grainy, and I didn't know if it was maybe some file footage they were using, or maybe the ISO wasn't set wrong. And it didn't happen very often, but there's a few times where they're doing like establishing winter scene shots, and then there'd be one out of like 10 shots that would just be, oh, that doesn't look very good. But for most of the runtime, the movie is in great shape. It's now in 4K with this new edition from Vinegar Syndrome. And it comes in a 2-pack with another movie called Wendigo. And this is volume 2 of his movies. They have already released volume 1, which I skipped because honestly, I hadn't seen these movies. I didn't really know what to expect. And now that I've watched the first one of his films, I am interested in seeing more because it's not what I expected. I expected your typical horror movie a la like The Thing. Here's a bunch of people trapped in a snowy area, kind of trapped. And they, things happen and they don't trust each other and that kind of stuff. And I thought you were going to get the standard horror movie tropes and that kind of stuff, and you do not. Not at all. Matter of fact, it's more a thriller than anything horror, but there is a couple of scenes that would be in the horror vein. And towards the end, they fully let you know what's kind of going on. It's all kind of surreal by the end, but there's a lot more going on and a lot more layers in the movie than you expect. Like I was over halfway through before, he's really trying to say some other things here. It's not just a standard from point A to point B thriller movie. There really is a whole lot of, and they only had $9 million budget. What he did have is some really good actors working, and him being an actor is probably why, the conversations just seem very natural, very much what people will be talking about. There's a great early scene once our main character, played by Ron Perlman, comes back. He's been gone for a couple of months getting supplies and whatever. And they all get together and they go outside and play touch football for a few minutes. It's nighttime, which depends on what time of year this was. It could have been nighttime all day long, but there are some daylight scenes. But they go out and play touch football, and it's a very realistic scene of, here's a handful of people who are just trying to stave off boredom in an area where, they don't have cable, they don't have internet, they basically read books, play chess, this kind of stuff you saw in the station in The Thing. These people are pretty far up there, and the place that they're investigating is even further up there inside the Arctic Circle. Now, there's an idea that this original oil well that was drilled to find out what was there, no one's ever disclosed what they found under there. And people start wondering, because that's what they're there. They're to investigate this area and perhaps get a new contract to drill in that area. But as people start to kind of go a little crazy about all this stuff. You don't know if it's, hey, is it just winter? Is it just isolation in Alaska? Or is it something else? Is there some kind of force affecting them? And that's one of the mysteries of the movie until towards the end of the movie. It does have a very good ending. And overall, I like the movie. It also has an intelligent ending. It doesn't end the way you think, and it doesn't end visually the way you would expect if I told you what the ending was. But at the end, you're left with some audio cues and a weird overhead shot of a character, and you have to kind of figure out how the movie ended on your own, and I really like that. It's not hard to figure out, but the title of the movie comes even more important by the end of the film. I got a lot more out of this than I expected to. About 45 minutes into the movie, I'm like, is this really a horror thriller? Because it really hasn't. It's been more of just a drama and a little bit of action, I guess, but it does eventually become a thriller and even a little bit of a horror movie. I would highly recommend it to anybody who's interested in Alaska, who's interested in these characters, and is interested in kind of little potboiler kind of a movie. It won't blow you away, but it does give me hope that his other movies are quite this good. This was a movie that actually got a theatrical release. A lot of his don't. They have restored it from a 35 millimeter interpositive, I believe. The Dolby Atmos is the Dolby Vision is great. It's in 5.1 or the original stereo. There's a lot of extras on the Blu-ray, nothing on the 4K, but I thought it looked very, very good for a low-budget film. It had a $9 million budget. And since it didn't set the world on fire, this is not going to be one of those movies that everybody's going to sit around the campfire and talk about after they've seen it. But if you like the kind of movies that I tend to like, movies that require more than one viewing, movies that you have to think about a little bit more to get more out of, this is one of those movies. I got to say, pretty impressed with The Last Winter, and I'm looking forward to watching Wendigo very soon. Does kind of fit under the Halloween theme, so we'll put this as a horror movie, but it really is more of a thriller. And if you're so inclined, check it out. Stream it first before you pick up the set. The 2 sets of his 4 movies each have 2 movies in it. Each of the sets has 4K and Blu-ray and a little booklet. They come in hard boxes. They're about $52.99 each. So considering you get 2 4Ks and 2 Blu-rays in each one, they're actually not expensive at all. I might check out the first 2 movies as well, pick up that set, because I really like The Last Winter, and I'm interested in Wendigo. These are 2 of his biggest movies. Anyway, I'm pretty impressed with Larry Fessenden, and we'll watch more of his films and get more into his career, because as an actor, he never really stuck out a whole lot, but he's one of those character actors that kind of disappears into roles. But as a director, he's doing some interesting things in movies and not the typical stuff, and I really look forward to that. So check out The Last Winter if you're so inclined. Like I said, there's a lot of extras. There's a feature-length documentary, which he says in the extras that he was telling people that were working on the movie that the documentary about the movie is going to be as long as the movie and probably better than the movie, and it is as long as the movie. I wouldn't say that it's better, but it's very interesting. He spends the first 10 minutes just scouting locations in Alaska in 2003, and for somebody who lives in Alaska in 2025, that's footage that's priceless. I mean, some of the stuff he shoots is incredible. But long story short, there's also another 20-minute thing he put together. There's quite a few extras. I mean, a feature-length documentary as an extra is no small task, and it really does go back to the germs of the beginning of the film. So all in all, if this sounds like your cup of tea, I would go ahead and pick up the package. Again, it's about $53 for 2 4Ks, 2 Blu-rays, hard box, and a book. All well done, all the extras on there. Really can't complain, and I can't wait to watch more. Scott, I'm ROCKFILE. More podcasts are on the way. Have a spectacular day, and thank you for listening.